You're listening to ProBooth Talk, education and insights for photobooth company owners.
All right, welcome back to ProBooth Talk. With me always is Lap.
Hey, everybody.
We also have a guest host in the virtual space today, Rob from the Photobooth Expo, PBX. Rob, welcome.
Hey, thank you. How's everybody doing here?
Great.
So,
Hey, Rob.
Great. So
I'm
there's a
actually,
couple things we wanted to jump right into. First of all, I had to miss PBX London. I couldn't get away in October, but Lap made it
Wah,
there.
wah, wah. I did. It was awesome. It was my first time there in Europe, my first time at PBX London, and I did not know what to expect. And it was a hard decision to go because I was really busy in October too, but I'm so glad I went. It was such a cool experience. So different than Vegas though, for sure.
I really like London as a city. I mean, I like Europe in general, but I look forward to visiting. I look forward to visiting Amsterdam next year. So
Yay,
Yes,
that's
Amsterdam. I'm definitely going to make it to
exciting.
Amsterdam. October's really hard for us, but September I can do it. I can swing it.
Yeah, we're really
September,
excited.
yeah, end of September. So I was actually there. We picked I was there to check out the venues back in May. So I think I've been to Amsterdam 3 or 4 times now. So I'm looking forward to going back. So.
I think there's going to be more interest this year too, right? Have you felt like there's more interest in the networks? Like I feel like maybe there's a lot of people that are really excited at the idea of going to Amsterdam for PBX, like people who have not gone before.
London was great. I mean, we had 2 good shows there. We might go back to London at some point, but Amsterdam's gonna be a lot bigger. A lot of the European manufacturers basically wanted something that was in the EU proper, as opposed to, now the United Kingdom is not in the EU, so they had to deal with customs and things like that.
Mm.
Just the venue that we have is just so much bigger than what London was great. I mean, nothing against London, but Amsterdam just gonna be so much bigger. I mean, potentially, if it grows, we could grow the Amsterdam show to actually be bigger than the Vegas. It's not there yet,
That's what
but
your
we
son,
could
I
grow
think
it
your
to
son
be
was talking to me about that too. Yeah, he was saying the same thing.
So
the
what's
venue
the
itself.
goal with the Europe side of things? Like, should people plan on going to both? Or are you trying to make it available to more people? What's the overall goal there?
Well, I mean, Europe is a huge place, huge population. I mean, the population of Europe is, I believe, almost double of that of the United States. So there's a lot of potential down there. For years, people were saying, well, when are you going to have an East Coast show in the US and all that? And quite frankly, I'm not, because Vegas works very well, and you can basically fly to Vegas from pretty much anywhere in the US, including Hawaii and Alaska, for somewhere in the neighborhood of 400, unless you're going really expensive with it. You can get flights for like
Yeah.
$400. Vegas is the most cost-effective place for hotels. I mean, we get
Yeah, there's a
fantastic
reason we're
rooms
the
at,
expo capital of the world. I mean, it's
yeah.
people come here for a
East
reason.
Coast wouldn't be bad either, though. I was really looking forward to East Coast when that was in the talks. I'm just saying.
Now
Well,
keep it in
just
Vegas. Team
it's not
Vegas.
like other people haven't tried it, but the fact of the
Yeah.
matter is, there are other shows that have been quite small and all of that, but I don't want to take away from one of the big points about Photobooth Expo is that we do get, last year we had close to
A
5,000 people,
huge,
Mhm.
yeah, huge
coming from
turnout. It's wild.
60 countries all over the world. And
Yeah.
do I want to divide that in half by instead of 5,000, well, maybe have 3,000 in Vegas and 2,000 somewhere else? Like, no, let's keep that one big. Europe's a different story. I mean, Europe on its own, I think, should have an expo. It's a different, there's a big pond between the United States and Europe. So I was when Pete Holding and Steve Honeyball approached me about about them running the show on behalf of PBX in London, I was all for it. So it's and like I said, London and Amsterdam has just huge growth potential, and Vegas will continue as it has, hopefully for years. I've got commitments at South Point going through to 2027 now. After that, will we stay at South Point? Will we go somewhere else? I don't know, but I like South
It's
Point. I
not.
mean, there's
So that is a topic I wanted to bring up because there are so many South Point haters. I have publicly said my position on the podcast before. Working in the event space in Las Vegas, I know why we're at South Point, and it's a great venue, and it's perfect for something like PBX. But a lot of people don't understand all the benefits that South Point have. Why and how did you come to settle on South Point, and why is it likely that we're not going anywhere else? At least it sounds like till
We have.
2028.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I've looked at all the different places. I mean, obviously the convention center is the most likely place, and it's huge, and that's all great. Mandalay Bay is a good place as well, and that's got a huge convention center. There are I've looked at pretty much all of them. At one point, I really liked the convention center at Rio. Unfortunately, Rio's been going through some issues for the last few years. And
Mhm.
the one thing I rarely or ever have complaints at is basically for people that actually go to South Point, the facilities and the rooms. I mean, they are just, by Vegas standards, are fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you're actually going to South, and the people actually gravitate, like the event, not catering professionals and all, like just staff gravitate to South Point just because it is such a good facility. It's a corporation, but it's technically family run. Michael Gahn and all of that.
Mhm.
Um, I had somebody when I was at the poker tournament last year. They said, "Oh yeah, well I used to work at MGM Grand, but finally I got a chance to get a job at South Point, so that's why I'm here now." So once
It's a
once
local favorite,
people,
certainly.
Oh,
it's
that's good
certainly
to know.
it's
That's
certainly a local
interesting.
favorite, and once people get a job there, they don't, you don't find it's not a place that you get a job till you get a job at someplace better. Generally, if you're there, you're,
Going to be
You're a
there for
what are
lifer.
they
20
called,
years.
lifers or something like that. So
I like.
there's so many good things about it.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
South Point. I know initially I was not a big fan of it, because some of the other hotels you guys named, they're like really beautiful, and they're on the strip and whatnot. But through the years, I've really grown to like South Point, especially after the experience where we moved it that 1 or 2 years. When we moved it for 1 or 2, I was like, no, let's go back to South Point just because it has everything we need,
Mhm.
like cheap eats. If
Cheap
you
eats
want to eat
is
sushi, if you want to
such a big
oyster,
deal. If you're going
yeah,
to live somewhere for 3 or 4 days, we're at
just the
Mandalay Bay now, which
convenience.
is a really nice space. The convention center
Yeah,
is really nice, but my staff is eating every day in the food court, and every day they're coming back saying, "I just bought the most mid stromboli I've ever had in my life for
yeah,
$25." And you
yeah,
don't have that at South Point. South Point, you can
yeah.
buy a hot dog for like $2, or
five
you can go
bucks,
to the
like a
cafe
hamburger.
for
Yeah,
for $15 for a meal or whatever. So being
yeah.
able
And
to eat at a
it's
reasonable
actually,
price,
and
Such a huge deal.
it's one of the few buffets that have survived Vegas
after
after
The
the
COVID, yeah.
clean
pandemic.
out.
I mean, almost
Yeah,
three quarters of the buffets were shut down,
yeah.
and the one at South Point is still going strong. And I think it's the only one that it's still 7 days a week, breakfast,
That
lunch,
isn't a
and
hundred
dinner.
some dollars. Yeah, the other ones are like over $100 from what I understand, from what I've
Yeah,
seen.
I mean, what happened to the days? I mean, that's the thing. South Point is what Vegas used to be 20 or 30 years ago, when buffets were $5.99, not 84.99 or whatever they are now.
And what's
And
crazy is like I tried to stay off site. There's like a little resort that's like right in the parking lot of South Point. So it
It's like a
literally is just
timeshare.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a timeshare, and I booked it because I thought, okay, my team can like be in a space where they
Grandview,
have
right?
a, Yeah, like
Yeah,
they have
yeah,
like a
yeah.
living room and yeah, 2 bedroom. So I thought, okay, it's just across the parking lot. What's the big deal? Oh my gosh, just the parking lot alone to walk from one side to the next was a huge deal when you're out like networking in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. You do not want to be walking across, a parking area. And I
Hmm.
have a car, so it's not even like me being off strip is a big deal because I can get on the strip with my car because I'm in California. We just drive in, but just having everything at your convenience. Like you want to go to spa, there's a spa. You want to go bowling? I heard there's a bowling alley. I haven't been there, but I
Yes.
heard there's a bowling.
There's two
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
Yeah, like there's something for everybody. I mean, I haven't heard of anybody like you don't really have to even leave South Point in those 3 or 4 days that you were there because they have everything you guys could possibly
A
need,
lot of
Yeah, and
a
it's
lot of
small
people
enough that
don't
it's almost
understand how.
like a complete buyout. I mean, it's not a complete
Yeah.
buyout, but it feels like it. Like you'll still have some locals there playing
Everywhere
and
you
stuff.
look.
Yeah, but if you went to Mandalay Bay, like you wouldn't know who is there for the expo and who's not, because there's tons
Yeah.
of tourists there. There's people for other conventions. So they've got 3 or 4 conventions going on at the same time. There's people there for House of Blues and concerts. But the South Point, you could pretty much go to any bar, any bank of slot machines, any restaurant, any coffee shop, and it's full of PBX people, and you can just start a
Yeah.
conversation. It's great.
That's, yeah, I mean, yeah, Mandalay Bay is bigger and all that, but a lot of people underestimate how big actually South Point is. I mean, there's 14 restaurants, 2,100 hotel rooms, of which, yeah, on
14
our peak,
restaurants. Why am I not eating at any of these restaurants? I only knew of like maybe two. I gotta pay
I
attention.
actually, I like all of them. The only one I haven't eaten at is the most, there's a place called Michael's, which is one of the most exclusive steakhouses in Vegas. I have not,
I don't
Wow.
I've
think I've even
eaten
heard of that.
Where? Where is
I've
it?
eaten at the Silverado Steakhouse.
Hmm.
It's a little like we're talking like $150, $200 steaks here, as opposed to the Silverado Steakhouse, which is like your $30, $40 steaks.
Yeah.
Okay, but I love their Mexican. If you're staying at the
Yeah.
hotel, you get a coupon, then you get a
I
free
tried
and these
it.
aren't small margaritas. These are like huge, real. It's some of the best Mexican food I've ever had, and it's on the
What?
second floor. Um,
I've been to
and
sushi
then
restaurant and the oyster
you have the
bar.
Coronado Cafe, which is their general, everything cafe, open
Everybody goes there.
24/7. You have your like
Yeah.
$6 steak and eggs, if you get it from whatever it is, midnight till 6 in the morning or something
We've
like
And
gotten
there's a
that.
that.
lot of
We've gotten
PBXs
that.
there.
We got
Rolling in late. Yeah.
a lot of us have
And,
had that. Yeah.
and that's the one, like that's the one thing I like about having it at South Point as opposed to having it at the convention. At the convention center, people come for the show and then they just wander off to any one of 20, 30, 40 other hotels,
Uh-huh.
and you don't have that sense of community. And the convention center is great. I mean, I'm not putting it down or anything like that. Like I mean, it's huge, right? But and then the new section is great as well. But
Yeah, new
I like the
section's really
fact that,
beautiful.
I'm walking through South Point and I look over at the craps table and it's like, holy cow, I know three-quarters of the people that are at that craps
Yeah.
table, right now. And so,
You know what's really cool about South Point is I have taken my mom like the last 1 or 2 years, and like once they know it's my mom walks around South Point, everybody's like, and she loves it. Like it's because almost everybody there is boothers. So, they once they meet her, they see her walking around. So she has friends. She comes, she doesn't go to the expo or anything, but she'll walk around and hit the tables
speaking
and, it's like she has all these instant friends that so I love that it's such a it's really like a small community, even though it is a big casino because I didn't know there was 14 restaurants.
yeah, if you bring somebody along and
Yeah.
they're not in the photo booth industry,
They'll still have
there's
a great
plenty to
time.
do there. I mean, you have the big gigantic. I don't know how many. Something like 10 cinemas in the theater. You've got
I didn't
there's
know
actually,
there's a movie theater.
yeah,
Have you stayed at
movie
the South
theater.
Point lab? Holy shit. What? There's restaurants? There's a bowling alley?
I,
Next they're gonna be telling me there's a swimming pool.
man, wait, what?
That we don't have in February. That's closed, but
Yeah.
Yeah, South
I'm not.
Point's pretty big. Like, I haven't seen. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen. I've been to the spa, and the spa is actually pretty decent.
I've
But
heard
yeah,
I've heard really good things about the spa. So
yeah, it's pretty decent.
Yeah. The movie
like I
theater
said,
is decent, but like we like Cinemark theaters because that's where our movie club is. But we tend to steer away from South Point just for whatever reason, the popcorn there it's as good as other Cinemark theaters, but otherwise, it's a good theater.
So, so we're at the 3-month point now before the show. So
Wow, that's in
everything's
no
gonna get real
time.
busy now. So
Yeah, this will
That's
actually be
exciting.
published, I think, on January 1st. So pretty much the
oh,
entire
okay.
month of January, we're going to have some kind of PBX episode, either guest hosts that are speaking at PBX, or PBX icons like Rex, or we're going to be talking about networking or sessions or whatever. So we're doing a lot of PBX stuff, which surprisingly, like I guess not surprisingly, we're almost an unofficial PBX podcast because I'm pretty sure it comes up in every single episode, just because so many of the people that we've met, like Lap and I met at PBX, and so many of the guest hosts
Yeah.
that we have on, we met at PBX, and so many of our
Yeah.
stories go back to PBX because those are where we build the stories. So it's become such
Yeah.
a central point to our boothing career, and I know so many other boothing careers. So I hope it's something that you're really proud of, and I want to congratulate you certainly on 10 years. This is a landmark
Wild.
PBX for you.
Yeah.
Exciting. It's been an exciting ride for me. I mean, the first show, I was thinking, well, maybe, if we get 300 or 400 people, that'll be good.
That's
And
crazy.
it just
Knowing where it's at now.
it just got viral, and instead of 300 or 400, we actually had 1,350 people at the first show. And
Wow.
so there's only been the entire time, there's only been 1 year that we ever had a decrease in the amount of people, and that was 2022, coming right out of but most
COVID.
people weren't expecting much of anything that year. So the fact that we were only other shows were down 75%, we were only down 10%.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I didn't know that. I thought it seemed like it was. Dang, that's wild. That's
And
Yeah.
then
From an
last
attendee
year,
perspective, that's almost not even noticeable.
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and then well 20 uh and the year after that, in 2023, it grew by over 1,000 people. And so that was 2023 was our biggest year ever, including before the pandemic. So we'd never had
Wow.
4,700 people. We were pretty much, I can't figure out if we were a few people more or a few people less last year. It seemed to me like the first night was busier and the third night was quieter last year than 2020, or the third day was quieter than 2023. But in terms of the number of badges we gave away, within 100, because we just when people come and pick up their badges, I know we have 5,000 printed, and both years I put about 300 in storage. So we were pretty much on. That was last year. We were on par from 2023, and then in 2020 we were on par from 2019. But other than that, every other year the show is, and in 2022 there was a 10% decrease. But
So in
every
the
other year the
industry,
show has grown.
we've all felt a massive increase those first couple of years as well, as everyone was kind of bouncing back from the pandemic and whatnot. But most people have also felt that retraction right now too, and businesses slowed down considerably, and a lot of people have seen business decline this year. So how are your numbers looking this year compared to last year?
They're right now, like right now the number's at about 2,500, which is on par from the last 2 years.
Good.
It's not, it's like within 100, it's not any more, not any less.
Mm.
I want to see,
I
I'm
feel
actually
like
doing a big,
you're actually doing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
I'm doing a big push, actually next week, to all the exhibitors. There's going to be a sort of promotion to, I'd like to see the numbers increase, not stay on par. But
Hmm.
the last 3 months is going to be the big push to basically, get on the up escalator rather than on the, even or down
Yeah.
escalator. So
So, is there anything that you have planned for 10 years? Is there any surprises in store? Any special anything? 10-year celebrations? Gonna
there's
blow
going
out
to be a few
candles?
things, some of which we're still planning. We're going to be doing the Hall of Fame. I'll be announcing all of that next week. And that's actually going to be moving to, we had it for the first couple of years, we had it in the showroom, which is where all the parties are and all of that.
Hmm.
And we're actually going to move that. We're going to move that to actually in the ballroom where the seminars are.
That
So
makes sense.
just I just for some reason it seemed like the last couple of years, it's like, some friends and family and all of that of all the winners showed up, but we didn't have the huge numbers like we generally have in the ballroom on the first day. So the people that win this year will be recognized. I know you're one of the winners and all of that. The first couple of years we didn't have the names on the we gave out general plaques and all of that. Congratulations. Congratulations, you're a winner and all of that. This year, we're actually going to be the plaques are going to be made in house, and they've basically told us that yes, I can tell them a week before what the names are, and all the names will be on the plaques. Just I had an outside supplier the last couple of years, and the logistics, because we generally the winners aren't announced till the beginning of February. So the logistics of getting that done, and they were somewhere in Missouri or something, the company that made
Yeah.
them and all that, and to basically get it all done and get it all over just wasn't practical. But we changed suppliers, so we can all do that now. We've got some we're changing the parties around a little bit. I won't give any details, but I think it's going to be a nice improve. We've had great parties at the show, but I think it's going to be a nice improvement on what we've done in the past. So people will like that.
Now
I'm
you want
Hopefully,
me
anxious.
to. Now I want to ask you. What do you mean? Now we want to know.
no,
Yeah.
I can't say anything till it'll all be announced. If somebody is not on our newsletter list, just go to either website, go to Photobooth Expo or Mobile Entertainment Expo, and join the list so you get the news when it first comes out. Or join the Facebook groups to either Photobooth Expo or Mobile Entertainment Expo, and so we basically try to get the information out there. But I'm not saying anything here because it's not. Well, actually, I understand the show's been taped about a month early, so if it comes out in January, the information might already be there.
So you might as well just tell us.
Oh, just going to be more in. I don't want to say anything because there's some really good stuff in the works. I don't want to jinx it. So
Okay.
but
Yeah,
it's
that's
all good.
fair.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good.
It,
And
I want
I
to
don't.
say though, like PBX Vegas, I love how big it is. Like a lot of us are drawn there because it's us being able to like reconnect with, like, it's almost like band camp. You just all your friends that you've met through the years. I mean, I know me and Jason, we've gone. My first PBX was the second one. I didn't go to the first one, but my first one was the second one. And I've been going year after year, and you meet all these people, you grow all these friendships. So PBX is just so like rejuvenating, especially after like a tough December, like us going back to PBX and like just getting excited about the industry again is so amazing. And the amount of people that go, you're going to run into your friends. But I want to say when I went to PBX in UK, I didn't anticipate liking the smaller size as much as I did. I actually was worried about it being so small, but I felt like because it was small, I was able to connect with like a lot of the vendors and talk to people that I normally don't have the opportunity to, just because it was smaller. So I actually got a lot of value out of the UK one. For anybody that, is debating like if they want to go to PBX in Amsterdam, like I was worried about the size, and I'm so glad that I went. Like I was very doubtful if it would bring value, and I felt like it definitely did. More so than Vegas.
Okay.
well,
Well,
that's
I'm for
fair.
all the PBXs out
Yeah.
there.
I mean, they all are of
But
value. But I'm saying I didn't expect much. That's what I mean when I say it brought so much value. I did not expect it to be as amazing as it was.
it's a great community in the UK as well. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
But just being able to like have the one-on-one with people that you normally don't get to have with vendors too. Like I got to meet the guys at Booth Book. I met the guy at Booth Events. Is that the right brand? I my first
there
time
is
with that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And just having those one-on-ones, curator, it was awesome to be able to like dig deeper with their software and have those discussions that, at PBX it's big, but there are a lot of people, that these vendors are talking to. So if there's any doubt about Amsterdam, you guys just go.
which I've told a few people. I mean, per square foot in London, there's a case to be made that London for an exhibitor is even more valuable than
I heard
Vegas.
that.
I mean, Vegas, yes, we have 4,700 people, and London had approximately 1,100 people. Okay,
Wow. Yeah.
but but in Vegas we have 411 booth spaces. In London, basically there were 57.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
for the exhibitors that were there, they had as much or more, FaceTime with
Yeah.
prospects and all of that than they do
Yeah.
in Vegas. And now in Amsterdam, it's actually going to be bigger. The
More
the original
vendors or more?
more vendors. We're hoping a lot more people too. But
how
in
do
terms
you
of the
see it comparing to Vegas still, size-wise?
it's not there yet, okay, in terms of the size of Vegas. But last year, so in the UK, we had 50. Vegas has 411 booth spaces, 10 by 10 booth spaces. Okay. In the UK and Europe, everywhere except the US, 10 by 10 feet is actually 3 feet, 3 meters by 3 meters, which is within
A
like a
little bit bigger,
fraction
yeah.
of an inch or whatever is the same size. Okay. But there were 57 spaces at PBX London, and right now the latest map that we've been drawing for PBX Amsterdam is going to have 125. So it'll still be a third the
Double.
size. It'll still be a third the size of PBX Vegas for now. Okay, but it's going to be double the size of the one in London.
UK. Yeah.
Now,
Is it vendors that we've not been exposed to,
Right.
or is it a
most
mix? I'm just curious if they have their own providers that we don't even know about here in the US.
there's a few vendors that wouldn't come to the UK that are in Europe. Okay. Um, Pretty much from what I've talked to people and from what I hear from Pete and Steve and all that, pretty much everybody or 90+% of the exhibitors that were in PBX London are going to PBX Amsterdam. And I've had two or three that I've talked to that want much bigger space. Like there are exhibitors that had like a 10 foot by 10 foot, or sorry, 3 meter by 3 meter space in PBX London that
Yeah.
basically have, like a 20 by 20 or 20 by 40 or huge islands in PBX Vegas, and they
Right.
want to they want to basically have a bigger presence and more space. So I don't think we'll have any issue filling the 125 booth spaces in Amsterdam.
I'm just
And
curious
but,
if
but
there's vendors that we haven't been exposed to here in the US. Like if there's
Uh,
companies that we,
yeah, kind of vendors that are kind of exclusive to UK that
yes,
don't typically go and exhibit in Vegas.
yes,
there's, like I said, I would have to go through the lists and all that, but there's a few. I mean, obviously, when you have a show in the U.S. and you have a show in Europe, probably half to two-thirds of the vendors are going to be in common because it's a worldwide audience these
Right.
days, so people
right.
people want to sell all over the place. But yeah, there are people that are there. I have exhibitors that have told me in the United States that they don't have they have so much business in the US, they're not interested in expanding to Europe. So they're,
Wow.
at
Yeah.
least for now, they're not going to the show.
So when someone approaches you to exhibit, how do you decide? Is it pretty much anyone that is interested, or do you try to keep a ratio of booth builders to software or anything like that? Is there any companies that you have to turn down for exhibitors?
The only people that we will turn down are either people that owe us money and haven't paid, or if we don't vet exhibitors. Okay. Basically, if somebody pays us for the space, they can have it. And I make that clear in the, exhibitor manual. Basically, everybody is welcome. The only exception, and it's happened a few times, if somebody comes to me about a complaint, we kind of act a little bit like a Better Business Bureau. Okay. I mean, the sale that somebody makes between them and an exhibitor is between them and the exhibitor, has nothing to do with us. But if somebody comes with a serious complaint about one of the exhibitors, if the exhibitor does not take care of it, then we would prevent them from coming back. So
Just make sure you're
people
not.
complain about,
Yeah, make sure you don't have shady companies there
yeah, and like I said,
to the best of
it's,
your ability, anyways.
yeah, but in terms of in terms of, no, we don't vet for quality and all that. If you are in the photo booth business and you basically want to promote to the photo booth community, you're welcome in the show. So, and I can list on one hand the number of companies, like in the 9 years that we've had the show, and it's maybe happened 5 or 6 times that people have had a serious complaint about some exhibitor. In the cases of a couple of them, they never returned. In the case of a couple of them, they took care of it and they're still there. So, and I won't mention any names here or anything like that.
I thought we were getting the tea ready. Get all
So
the hot goss.
I don't want to get into trouble with anybody here, fairly or unfairly or whatever. So
That's going to be the title of our podcast. Learning is not paying at PBX exclusively.
the good news is, like I said, pretty much we this year we've had more, the space in PBX filled up faster than any other year, and I don't know if you remember from 2022, at the back of MEX, it was a little bit quiet and all that because we actually had, coming out of the pandemic in 2022, we actually had 13 exhibitors that pulled out in the month to month and a
Oh
half before the
wow.
show. In the case of a couple of them, it's like our employees have COVID, so we can't come, and
These are
some
wild
just,
times.
like I said, that was like 10%, 10% of the exhibitors pulled out in the in that was the only year. 10% pulled out in the month and a half before the show, and so we actually had, there was a section. That's the only year that we haven't filled up to the walls. There was a section at the back of MEX that we put a few extra tables to accommodate the snack bar that's in the back over there as well. But it
Let
was,
people spread out a little.
every other year we've either sold out 100% to the walls, and we have a pretty tight floor plan. I mean, when I went to Las Vegas Expo and they created the floor plan, it's like, get as many exhibitors in there as possible. So it's basically to the walls and maximized. So when you're in there, there's no shortage of things. Well, you know that, but there's no shortage of things to see. So
No, there's not. It's crazy. It's one of the only expos. I mean, in the expo space locally in Vegas, I don't ever see lines out the door waiting for like. It's like a rope drop at Disney World. Like last year, I wanted to go. Like I didn't plan on going to the showroom early because I know it could get crazy. But then my staff was in line and wanted me to go meet up with them, and I went over there, and they wouldn't even let us go up the escalators because there are so many people already waiting for the doors to open the first time.
Wow.
Anticipation is incredible.
it's almost become a tradition. I mean, I actually hire security now to make sure that nobody gets crushed on the escalator or anything like that.
That is
So
Yeah. And they
wild.
stopped me last year. I tried to I'm pretty good at getting through security too, because it's part of the like in the photo booth
The game.
world. Yeah, you got sometimes you don't have your badge yet, so I'm pretty good. But these guys would not let me by. I could
but
not do
that
it.
that whole and that,
That's
that lobby
wild
area isn't
though.
small, and it's
Yeah, that's
basically it,
wild.
it takes it takes 10-15 minutes for everybody to filter in on the first night. So
So you
Dang.
obviously have no trouble filling up the showroom floor, and you don't seem, I mean, obviously you're still promoting, but you don't have trouble selling tickets. So what areas would you say is the biggest struggle for producing a show of this size every year?
like I said, there are some of the political issues. Like I said, when you're hoping that all transactions between your attendees and your exhibitors are going to be good ones, and probably 95 or 97% are. But uh, it's not pleasant when you basically have to deal with the occasional thing that comes up where somebody says, "Well, we ordered a booth and they promised it to us, and 4 months later we're still waiting for the booth and they have our money." And it doesn't happen often, but it's happened, and that's
Yeah.
probably
I
that's
wouldn't expect people to
probably
go to
one of
you. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah. Thing.
so. And there are once again, I'm not naming any names, but there are a couple of people that basically, and actually I think they're out of business, but I don't know that for a fact. But like I said, we've had 9 years. We've had a couple of an average of 120 exhibitors every year. There's going to be a couple of bad apples in there and all of that.
Always.
So
Yeah.
and it just there's like I said, there's small things, some of the security issues dealing with everything. It's not everything isn't always rosy and pleasant and all of that. And I've got a lot of fires. I mean, not physical fires, but although we'd have the fire alarms go off last year because um, a couple of our DJ exhibitors weren't that careful about what kind of fog they were using in their smoke machines.
That's funny. I missed that.
I don't know
I
if you
don't
remember
remember
that, but
that.
it was
I don't.
twice that it
It
basically
sounds
went
so
off, and
vaguely familiar. Yeah.
this year we're going to hire a couple of fire marshals to actually
Oh gosh.
be on site so that if that so the last thing you want to do is and they didn't have to do it because they isolated it very quick, and it's like, yeah, there's no fire here, it's all good, but I always
Yeah.
worry, if they had to like evacuate the hotel because some idiot was using the wrong fog or whatever, and that happens at DJ events too, when if you don't,
Dang.
a lot of small things, but generally it's I've been pretty lucky. I mean, things generally over the last 9 years, things have gone very smooth, and everything's on track to be as good or better this year. So
So, is there anything that you feel people typically, I don't know, overlook, or maybe something that people don't know about the show that you want to share, some inside scoop information?
well, to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad I actually don't do. I did photo booths for a number of years, about 10 years or so, but I actually I have not done a photo booth since the pandemic. My last photo booth was December, I believe it was December the 21st, 2019. And then I was down to doing about 15 a year. At my peak, I only, before photo booths as a DJ company, at our peak, we were almost at like 400 events per year. We had a pretty big operation back in the late 1990s. But when I got into the photo booths, I think at our peak, we were like at 60 or 70 events per year. Um, and by 2019, I was like down to like 15 per year.
Yeah.
Just I pulled out when the show started taking off in 2015, and in 2016, I stopped advertising for our photo booth business. I pulled out of all the wedding shows and things like that. And there was so much work, and it's year round. People think, oh, you're only the show's only 4 days, but you're basically working on it the entire year, getting the attendees, getting the exhibitors in place, the different programs and all that. It's a full-time job, and there were some times I just didn't, I was so busy with the show, and the show was doing so good, I didn't want to be out on a Saturday night doing I enjoyed it. The 10 years that I did it, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, when it came out of the pandemic, people are actually saying, "Well, can you do this thing?" And it's like, it's not. It's if you're going to do a photo booth, you want to do at least 40 events a year, I
Yeah,
would
just
think,
to keep your
because you have
head in
to,
the game.
you have to pay. It's the same for whether you do 5 events a year or whether you do 175. You pretty much have to pay the same for insurance. Okay, to do a quality job, if you're doing a quality job, you don't want to do a quality job for 10 events per year. You want to do it for 100, 170, better 1700, whatever, if you have the staff. You want to grow as much as possible. So if I wasn't, so it's like, I'm doing everything to grow Photobooth Expo, and like I said, our expansion into Europe and all that type of stuff. But it just got to the point where it wasn't worth the extra, and keeping the studio for people to come, and it just wasn't worth it anymore. So I'm actually glad that I don't have to decide on, there's so much out there technology wise, and I've seen the technology grow so much in 10 years, and there's so many options, and it's
It can
fantastic.
be overwhelming.
But I'm glad I don't, basically I do two things: sell tickets to attendees and sell booth space to exhibitors. And come on the occasion, and I visit all the other shows except the only reason I went to Wedding MBA for a number of years. Actually, back early on, I exhibited for a couple of years, but this year, because I was in England and Europe for the better part of 3 weeks in October, and my wife's 60th birthday was yesterday, and we're having a big party on Saturday.
Okay.
So that's why I'm not
Happy
at Wedding
60th.
MBA. And I'm actually going to Vegas the second and third week of December. There's a show in Los Angeles called Expo, which is the expo for people that put on expos.
Interesting. Guess
Oh,
there's an
wow.
expo for everything. Expo. I like the
So
name
so
too.
I'm actually going to that, and so I'm going to that. So it's like, yeah, just I had to cut something, and I've been to so many of the other shows this year, and all of that is just I had to cut something out. So it's like the month of November, I'm staying put at home. So I'm actually in Niagara Falls right now, and I'm flying to Vegas and back in December, and then renting a car and driving to LA to go to Expo. And I'm flying home for Christmas, and then actually getting in my car and driving to Vegas on January the 4th. So it's and I'll go visit CES, and there's a lot of things the month before that.
CES too.
So I actually hadn't I had not gone to CES I've gone to it about 5 or 6 times. I had not gone the last couple of years just because it's early January, and I always used to wait. I would usually drive back to Vegas the middle of
Right.
January, but this year, because I'm staying home, and I was usually gone for a good part of November. But this year, just the way things worked out, so I get to spend about a month and a half in Vegas. So it's a
Nice.
lot of fun.
It's a good time of year too.
And well, yeah, it gets me out of the snow too. I can't. I hate. You'd think, having been born in Canada and all of that, I'd like the snow. No, I hate it. I'm a snowbird of sorts or whatever. Head south during the
Yeah,
winter.
I have zero interest in snow as well. I am a desert rat for sure. I love the desert.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I mean, more so than, Florida is the other place a lot of people escape to, but I don't know why. I like Nevada, Arizona, California, and all of that. I just I like that geography and everything better and I've been to Florida a number of times, but if I had to pick one, I pick Nevada over Florida. So
Where it's
Yeah,
humid,
that's
too
gonna do
humid
it.
for me. I wanted to ask Rob, for the classes that you have and the keynote speakers, like, forgive me if maybe it's just vague memory, but I could have sworn there was a time when we had like master classes for, how Wedding MBA has educational courses on like business, or is there any plans to like change up the speakers, or not so much the speakers, but like the topics, and getting more immersive with like the business side, or like, I mean, is there any plans for any of that, master
I think I
classes or
remember math
anything
classes like
well,
the
well,
second
for some of
year or
us
technically there
something.
are.
seasoned? Yeah, like for some of our season, because I feel like, I mean, I know I hear feedback from a lot of the new boothers and they find it very useful, but do we have any plans for like something for more like seasoned providers that have been in this for like, 4 or 5 years or longer? Is there any plans for
On
anything like
honest
that?
Honestly, it all depends on who approaches me. The second year, so we've had outside parties basically run master classes in previous years. Okay. and and I'm happy to anybody that wants to do that. And we had a group last year that kind of ran their own classes just before PBX. So we've had that many times in the past, and we'll probably have it many times in the future. We started calling we've started calling the classes that all the classes that are on Wednesday and Thursday pretty much master classes because they're in a smaller room. I found the first couple of years before the show opens, we get the large rooms. Originally they were like 600 people. Now they're like 1,008. Technically, if we had to, we could fit 2,000 people in there. But but I felt bad for a couple of speakers because I used to schedule them before the show opened, and then we would have speakers when the show opened. And I remember one particular, the first year of the show, there was the room held 600 people, and there was like 610 people or something like that in that room the hour before the show opened. And then the show opened, and the next speaker was speaking to like 20, 30 people
Yeah.
in that room for 600. So I kind of felt bad for the speaker. Okay. Nothing to do with their fault or anything like that. It's
Just the
once
timing.
once the show floor opens, 90% of everybody wants to be on the floor. So we basically and the same for a couple of years I rented the big room on the Wednesday, and we had seminars in there, none of which had more than like 50 people. So then we basically said, well, if we're only going to have seminars for 50 people, we'll have the master classes and we'll have it in some of the small rooms. We've had a couple of, it doesn't happen often, but it has happened. We've had issues. And I won't mention the names, but there's a couple of really popular classes where, the room used to hold 100 people, and there's like 200 people trying to get into the room and all of that.
I'm pretty sure I was in that room.
So what people don't realize, it's happened like 5% of the time. 95% of the time, everything's worked out, and if you have room for 100 people, you like 60 or 70 people in there. We try our best to estimate who's going to be in there, so we don't have
Wasn't bad.
we don't have a huge room and 10 people show up, or we don't or we don't have a small room and 600 people. I think that was the worst case. We had one particular seminar that was very popular, and I think 600 people tried to get into a room for 100. But
Wow.
our master class room this year holds, just like last year we didn't have any problems. It holds 150 people, and last year everybody that wanted to get into any of the seminars was able to get in. So it's we put the disclaimer on the tickets. It does happen every once in a blue moon. It didn't happen last year, okay, but it does. And we've tried different things. I mean, at one of the things we tried in the smaller rooms was getting people to sign. They didn't have to pay for it, but they had to basically sign up for the seminar. So
Like an
and
RSVP,
then they'll be guaranteed to get in. The only problem is,
sort of
sorry?
just like an RSVP.
Yeah, the only problem is 100 people sign up for the seminar in the first like hour after I make the post. Okay, and then in the one case, it's like going, well, why did only 27 people show up? 100 people signed up for it. So that didn't work either. But like I said, I think we got most of the kinks worked out. We do have individuals have their own classes. They I don't put them in the show guide, because what's in the show guide is what's included for people that have key passes. If people run tons of parties that are just not, if everybody that has a key pass isn't invited to the party, we're happy to have them do it and all of that. And some people like even rent rooms to do all this, but I won't include it because that's not our party. That's their party. They can invite who they want, and But like just one example. I mean, one of my favorite speakers out there is Alan Berg. I don't know if
Yeah, I just had dinner with
he's
him 2 days ago. He's
Yeah,
great.
and he basically runs his own program. So it's like, first I think like 25 or 30 people. I believe the cost is like $395, $290, somewhere in that range. Okay, but once again, that's not in our show guide, and he advertises it, and we let him promote it. We let him promote it on our venues, but once again, we don't list it because we have 2 seminars from Alan Berg, so 2 of my favorites every year. One's on Monday and one's on Tuesday, and everybody with the key pass is welcome to go to that. And like I said, it's very well received, and that alone is worth, I'm that alone is worth what you're
I
paying to go to
agree.
MEX just for those 2 seminars. Okay, but like I said, then he's got his own program that he runs, and there's other people that have run programs as well. So and the people that are running the master class, it's a second year. Once again, that was, fantastic education and all of that.
Yeah.
And for a couple of years, they ran their own program totally separate from the show and all of that. So
I wish I went to that when they had that. I was still too new to understand the value of
Mhm.
education. I didn't get to attend it, but I heard a lot of great things about it.
I heard, yeah, it was
Yeah.
very good. So I actually didn't. Once again, I just heard things from people because I'm busy putting out fires and all that. I wasn't in there,
Yeah.
but I heard very good things about it.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
balance of those rooms and speakers and making sure that the appropriate number of people, that is a challenge that I didn't really know about and couldn't really appreciate without hearing.
Yeah.
That we do our best, and 95% of the time it works, but there's always, nothing's perfect, and there's always some kind of an issue that comes up about
Hmm.
something. So
Sure.
we do our best to deal with whatever comes up there. I'm looking, like I said, it's getting to crunch time, so I'm looking forward to all of that. Looking forward to going back to Vegas, and it'll be a fun time, I think, again.
This year flew by. I cannot believe it's in 3 months.
Yeah,
Fast approaching.
the last 10 years have just, ever since I started doing the show,
That's
have just
true.
flown.
That's true.
It's like I remember, like, I remember announcing the show in the just before Christmas in 2014. So it'll be 10 years since I first announced the first show,
Crazy.
and then
And a lot of us have like, I mean, Jason already mentioned it, but it is like centralized to a lot of our careers. Like PBX has been the central like point at starting a lot
what
of our
what I
careers.
really
So
like is
wild.
I've seen some companies grow with the show, which is great to see. I know once again, I'm not mentioning any names, but I know a couple of companies that are like major exhibitors. I don't think would exist if it wasn't for the people that they met at
Oh,
the
definitely.
first and second years.
Yeah.
People have collaborated, formed businesses together.
So
Um,
wild.
it's an incubator, basically, which is basically what it's meant to be.
Yeah, my first PBX that I went, I did not anticipate all that was gonna come along with I don't know how to put that in words. I mean, like I thought I was just gonna be, and I know a lot of new people who are in the industry that are like debating going to BBX, like they just see it as like an expo floor, which is what I saw it as when someone approached me and like tried to convince me to go. And I was just thinking, I don't need
I've
to
seen
go,
their
like
websites.
there's PBN, PBC. I see all this stuff online, that's in my mind, this is what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking, I don't know anybody. I'm going to be there all by myself. And it was just a whirlwind. Like once I arrived in Vegas, right at South Point, it was a whirlwind. Like everybody, you didn't know anybody, but you knew everybody, like it's so much more than an expo. It's more than just the expo floor. Like there's just so much going on. It really has
The
been a whirlwind ride. Yeah.
Yeah, the Expo floor is great, but I mean, basically, it is there are things that you can do at the show, and people that you meet and connections you make and all of that. You just and you know and online is great, but it's like that one
It's not
chance
the
once
same.
per year to actually meet everybody in person,
Yeah.
you know.
And it really is. It's so much more than online because I know like online I have a certain presence, and then when people meet me in real life, they're like, okay, you're too,
Well, that's they come to
so like,
they come to
yeah.
PBX to meet you.
Well,
So
they get to know you as a person, not just like as a avatar and like a
yeah,
bunch of text that they like they actually meet your personality, and you really get to connect with people on a whole different level. Like you could have friendships. Like I met a bunch of people online through like you have messages, you exchange messages back and forth, but like when you actually meet them, it just changes like the relationship completely, and it builds on
which
like
is
trust. And yeah.
why I'm not really that worried about expos being obsolete because of online stuff and all of that. Because there will always be a place that that people want to meet in person. I think that's why. I mean, during the pandemic, everybody was going, well, let's have virtual expos and all of that. And I guess some people were successful with
Were
that
they
and all
though?
that, but generally it didn't take off.
No, I can't imagine because I mean, virtual expos really are. I mean, their websites like that. It's completely opposite of what
Yeah.
the expo is, which is engagement and meeting people and being like the room I
Yeah.
found to be private. I guess it's lunchtime. This room is for lunch, but it's full of people right now, all, networking, meeting for the first time and talking about their business and talking shop and whatnot. And it's just exhilarating and something that you certainly can't get from any kind of online communities
And you never know. I mean, you might meet 100 people, and there's the one person that's going to be a future business partner or whatever, and you form,
or
it's
co-hosts.
and
Yeah, I met Jason at PBX when he did this podcast back then. So it's a trip for me to be like a co-host on it now. It's such a trip. Like I would have never imagined being a co-host with you, Jason, years later. But that just goes to show like just how amazing the expo is and how it has changed, a lot of our businesses, directions that our businesses go. Like white labeling became something new in the last like few years, and you would not have these kind of networks without meeting these people at PBX.
the one thing we're
Yeah.
looking at starting again in the next couple of years. It's probably, I'm not rushing into it, but is because when I got to know, I knew Jason, as an exhibitor and as a podcaster and all that before this, but we were on a PBX Mobile Beat cruise back how
What's
many years
that?
ago?
What is that, you guys? Because I've not heard of this. What are we talking about?
2017, the two cruises were 2017, 2018,
Like an actual
and
cruise or like a cruise down a
No,
car?
yeah,
What
it
are we
was a
talking
Carnival
about?
no,
cruise.
there's an actual.
Oh,
It was
okay, okay.
we don't have the entire ship. It's we had I think at that it was like 65 people or whatever
Oh,
on the ship.
wow.
We had our own party room, and we basically all ate dinner together. Um, it was a lot of fun, and I've actually gone. That was my first cruise ever,
Oh, wow.
and so then the next year there was a bigger. That cruise was it was like a 5 day, fairly small
Yeah.
cruise. And then the next year we had a bigger cruise. And since then, my wife and I have gone on 3 cruises. And we're looking at restarting the whole, PBX MEX cruise now. So that's
I didn't
probably
even know this was a thing, you guys. What year did you guys
Yeah, it's
do this?
2017, and it wasn't really. So I
2017.
know that like MEX did it, so it was really aimed at DJs, and Rob wanted to bring PBX into it, but I feel like it wasn't really marketed because nobody knew. Like the first year, I'm pretty sure we were the only Photobooth company, and then
Yeah.
it was all other DJs, and it seemed like no every time I bring it up, nobody remembers it or whatnot. So it
Yeah.
really, if you bring it back, I'd be excited because I'm an avid cruiser and I love going on cruises, and we'll certainly help to push that out and help build it out. 'Cause we just cruised with Monica
Oh,
Gunderlock. She got a bunch of photo boothers together, and we went on a cruise, and it was one of the best cruises ever, just because everywhere you go on the ship, you just run. It's like PBX. You run into someone in your industry, and you could just yeah,
Smaller.
and it's
Smaller.
just
Yeah.
really intimate, and it's great. Yeah.
I was there part-time. I showed up
well, the big thing
part-time.
that I would change, yeah, it was basically that was basically Ryan. Ryan ran that cruise and all of that. But like I said, it introduced me to cruising, and I loved it, and I still. Uh, and then we were supposed to basically we were supposed to have the next cruise was supposed to be in
Hawaii, do
August.
a Hawaii cruise. Pretty cool. The 7-day Hawaii cruise is pretty
There's a
legit.
few, I've been to Hawaii twice.
Do the
There's
cruise. It's awesome.
but no, but I've been wanting to do a cruise because so I went to a show called PhotoCon, I think. It was a photography show down there. I went a couple of years in a row. And so I know Oahu inside out. Like I've driven all there's
Yeah.
one section in the far northwest you can't drive, but other than that I've driven. I mean, I I spent a week twice, so I got to know Oahu pretty good. The second time I actually stayed on the North Shore and then drove into Honolulu and all of that. But I keep on
Yeah.
saying there's so much you can actually there are a couple of cruise lines that actually go between all the different islands.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done it. The 7-day cruise, it takes you to Maui. It takes you to the one that they record Jurassic Park. I forget what that island is called. But it takes you like 4 or 5 islands. It's
So
amazing.
oh, okay. I don't know if
Yeah.
there was a lot of Jurassic Park was actually shot
Norwegian.
on Oahu.
Oh no. Okay, no. It's a different one. What's the other island?
I've only
I'm
been
sorry. I'm drawing a
to
blank. But
Maui.
it's the Garden
The Big
Island.
Island or
It's the
Yeah.
Garden Island is the nickname. I don't know what the actual name of the island is right now. I'm drawing a blank, but it was like a 7-day cruise, really affordable back then. But Maui is my favorite for sure. Maui's my favorite.
That's the only one I've been to, but
Oh,
it was
that's cool.
gorgeous. Yeah.
You went to the best. You went to the best one. If I go to Hawaii, Maui would be just the one I would go to straight up.
Well, I've never been to Maui, but I imagine
Oh, Rob, you have to.
it's less
It's smaller.
touristy probably than because
It's yeah, for sure. It's
because
smaller too.
Hawaii has what 1.4 million people and 1.1 million live on Oahu.
Yeah,
So that's
it's more like LA, but like with the tropical vibes. But Maui is like how you imagine Hawaii when you watch it in movies, like very tropical,
And
very
that's what it
small.
was.
yeah.
And the only thing about Maui I didn't like, yeah, the only thing I didn't like about Maui was like I don't cook, so like after the sun went down, everything shut down. So I was starving after like 5 p.m. That's so like nothing's open after 5. Like you're like at 7-Eleven begging for food
Well, that's
there.
how I am being raised in Vegas. Anytime I go to vacation anywhere, I'm like, the bar's closing. Why are they turning the lights on in the bar? What's going
Yeah,
on?
what you mean? Yeah, yeah. That's the only pitfall of Maui that like after the sun goes down, everybody kind of just like disappears.
Yes.
Oahu's not really like that. Yeah.
Anyway, well, it looks like you're already walking somewhere.
Yeah, I'm
So
I'm moving around because the area I was sitting in, all the trade show people are coming in, and I was taking a spot for someone to eat lunch, so I'm moving around, finding a new place to sit. But yeah,
all right.
I think that pretty much covers PBX anyways. I'm trying to remember the order of episodes. I'm pretty sure next week, we've already recorded it, but next week we're talking about exhibits and sessions. And then the next week we're going to have Catalina on. In the following, we're talking about after parties and networking, and then closing it up with talking with Rex, who has pretty much become a PBX mascot and almost unofficial. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Celebrity. Yeah.
So,
Celebrity.
but certainly
Okay.
wanted to kick it off
Well,
for
yeah.
you. So I'm
If
glad
this
that you
comes
were
out at
able
the beginning.
to make it on.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
everything will be on the website. Right now, we're just updating the website for all the new seminars because for the first 9 months of the year, basically we leave on the previous year's seminars. All the timings and all that are the same, but it takes us those 9 months to basically figure out who's coming back,
Mhm.
who isn't, who's new, and all that type of stuff. So
How does someone
usually,
become a speaker? Is that possible for like me or Jason? Are we able to be speakers?
yeah, in 2026, where
I don't know,
we
Jason.
that's the whole thing. Once we that's why we wait the 9 months because if we put it out in June, it's like okay, well nobody can nobody new can speak between June and the next year.
Yeah,
It doesn't that's why we wait till 3 months before the show and then actually put out. But now like everything's pretty much set. Like
maybe a
Yeah.
all the spots are
yeah,
taken. All
maybe a
the
co-speaker as
J-
the show. I could share a stage with someone, but I don't know if I could properly present.
you and
Yeah,
me.
that's what
What
I
are you
mean.
talking
Yeah.
about? You and me.
but that's
You and me.
because I tell anybody that wants that has something worthwhile to present, like you guys would obviously, to the photo booth community, like get a hold of me in April, May, or June, and then if you know, for those people that are legitimate speakers, we'll have room for them. But somebody that comes to me in October, November, and says I want to speak, it's like we just put out the program. It's like who are we going to bump in order to get whoever to it
Bump
just
Alan.
doesn't work
Tell
that
him to
way.
talk to me
So
about it.
yeah. Sorry, Alan. Jason's going to be taking your place there. So,
uh, but we talked
That's
a bit about
funny.
PBX when I met with him the other day, and it's certainly one of the shows that he looks forward to the most every year as well. It's a really big and really well received. So, I mean, what I've mentioned it over and over again, but what you've created is great. Not only to the boothers, but the people selling things and the speakers and all the way around. It's been
Yeah.
10 years, and
The entire community. Yeah. Congratulations. It's amazing. 10
thank
years.
you.
That's
But,
mind-boggling.
yeah, Alan, I got to say, Alan is one of my absolute favorite speakers because I I can't listen to him at my own show because I'm like I said I'm out there. I usually drop in for a
Running
couple of
around.
minutes and then come out. But
Yeah.
every other show that he speaks at, I will seek out and listen to his seminar because there's always
Yeah,
something. He's got so much quality, and he's got so much quality material, and he presents it so well. And just I will literally, even though I'm not, there are things I can learn about any business from what he
I
talks
agree.
about. And I'm just sitting there go, yeah, I agree. That makes sense. It motivates me some more and all of that. And like I said, every show that I'm at that he's the speaker at that isn't my show, I always go and listen to it. And I've probably in the last 5 years, 10 or 11 times I've done that. And every time I enjoy his seminars more.
Yeah, and
So
that's
just keep
something that
forgetting about
we
it.
That's
hit on when
awesome.
we recorded about sessions, is that there are a lot that Lap and I skip over because we've been doing this for 10 years. So, there's a lot of things that just aren't relevant to us, but I will never skip over Alan's. I'll always be in the front row. He always presents well. It's always something new and fresh. He's even his presentations that he's been doing for years, he's always updating them with new current information, and there's just always something to learn. He's just such an incredible speaker.
Yeah, I can name I won't name them, but I can name a couple of shows where I've gone, and yeah, his were the only seminars I bothered
Yeah.
going to.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up then. Like I said, this will be, I'm pretty sure January 1st. So we'll see you, I guess, in a couple 6 weeks as opposed to, or 3 months, however you want to frame it. But thanks again for joining us on here. And we can't wait for
Yeah, thank you.
PBX.
Thanks for having me on the show, and I look forward to seeing you again in like I said, what 6 weeks
The 3 months, whatever it is.
or 12 weeks, depending on on where we're at when people are listening to
Yeah.
this. Anyway, thanks again.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay, bye-bye.
To keep the conversation going, join our Facebook group, ProBooth Talk Community. If you enjoyed this podcast, consider showing your support by subscribing, liking, reviewing, or sharing this topic with someone in the industry.